Hello there guys, what is going on? Son of Chelsea back here again for another edition of Let's Talk Chelsea. Hope you're all doing well and keeping safe on this Wednesday. Today's show going to be focusing on the West Ham win, Thiago Silva, Mason Mount, Tammy Abraham, focusing on some of their performances and reflecting on the positives of their performance because I think it's really encouraging moving forward for Chelsea over the Christmas period. Also, some transfer talk around Declan Rice and Erling Haaland being Chelsea's main targets next summer. But before we get into any of that good stuff, I want to ask you guys, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Also, do me a favor before Christmas by hitting that like button because it helps out the channel as well. So, the other night, Chelsea beating West Ham 3-0. If you haven't checked it out already, please go and watch my rational perspective on the game. But it was another one of those games this season that does encourage me about the substance of this team. Not only responding after two defeats, which really knocked us back just generally as a club, but I'm sure the players as well and Lampard, but also our ability to win games when we're not at our best. That was something Chelsea couldn't do last season. Very rarely did we have a below par performance and we come away with a win. I think we had to play almost perfectly at times last season to get the victory. So I think it shows you that resilience within the team. I felt there were some key performers, mostly Thiago Silva, who I think most people gave man of the match. His performance was wonderful, as you can see by his numbers here from Squawka. Just all round a great performance. Such an assured figure back there. He's added so much presence and leadership back there, and in terms of the player we hoped we'd be getting, I mean, I think he surpassed that even. I think there was some doubt around his sort of age and thinking about him this year, the impact he could have on that defence in terms of danger awareness, in terms of what he could produce on a consistent basis. He's been massive for Frank Lampard, and also being a threat at set pieces, and this ties in naturally to Mason Mount, who created more chances than any other player against West Ham, also having a hand in the third goal as well, setting up the ball for Christian Pulisic, who of course headed the ball against Fabianski, and then eventually it went to Tammy Abraham to finish it off. As you can see here, all three of his Premier League assists, Mason Mount, this season have been for Chelsea centre-backs. It was something I didn't touch on in my review, but Chelsea having a threat from set pieces now, I think has been such a game changer this year. I mean, it can bail you out when you're not being as fluid in attack. You know, that's something Chelsea have struggled with. We've been awful at set pieces for me, not only defensively, but offensively for quite a while. And I think now Mason Mount is just perfecting those crosses from corners. You know, the delivery to the likes of Kurt Zuma, who's anticipating it so well this year, Thiago Silva. It just, I think, adds that different dimension to us and adds a versatility to the way we attack. You know, I think that it's a great thing that teams now fear Chelsea when we get corners. That's a big area that they have to focus on, with the likes of Kurt Zuma and Thiago Silva making those runs and scoring goals from set pieces. But as well, you know, if we're struggling, as we were the other night, to create chances from open play, it really can bail you out. So I think that's a big thing. And Mason, back to his best the other night, setting up a goal for Thiago Silva. And lastly, Tammy Abraham scoring 2 goals. And this was from Expected Chelsea. A really interesting stat about the games taken by Chelsea strikers to score 20 Premier League goals in their career. As you can see here, a list of some of the biggest strikers at Chelsea, some of the most successful strikers. Diego Costa tops this list. I mean, in terms of the record for him getting to 20 Premier League goals at Chelsea, absolutely incredible. 26 games it took him in 24 starts. But going down to Tammy Abraham, and he's just above Didier Drogba here, and he actually has taken less time, a game and 2 starts less to get to 20 goals, 49 games, 32 starts, whilst Didier took 50 games and 34 starts to get to 20 goals. So that's really impressive. And I think when I see criticism of Tammy Abraham, you know, doubts about him being a long-term starter at Chelsea as our main striker, you have to explain these numbers because these numbers are really impressive for a young player. You know, I think about Didier's early struggles at Chelsea, and it took him about 2 or 3 years to get to his best at Chelsea. With Tammy already being there and still has a long way to go in his career, I think it's really encouraging. So I think Tammy Abraham needs a lot more respect, you know, in terms of his goal record, in terms of what he's been able to do, the way he's responded to adversity at Chelsea so far in his career over the last 2 seasons. I think it's been massive. So to have him back in form, I think is big for Frank Lampard moving forward. Let's move on now to Declan Rice, who is a big transfer target for Chelsea. We've spoken a lot about Rice in the past, and I don't think this link and target is going to go away anytime soon, despite your sort of opinions about Rice, whether Chelsea should spend as much as being reported on him in the future, especially the summer transfer window. I think it's very unlikely we sign him next month, because I think it would take a lot. I think Chelsea would have to sell a lot of big players. I think Jorginho would have to leave, for instance, for say 60 million maybe, and some other players to get off the wage bill, and then maybe we could make a move. But given the fact that West Ham have exceeded expectations so far this season, I think that makes it an even bigger challenge and maybe even takes up his valuation a little bit more. I think we'll have to wait till next summer. But there were so many pieces going into that West Ham game on Monday surrounding Declan Rice and why Chelsea are so interested in signing the midfielder from West Ham soon. This was from Matt Law in The Telegraph, why Frank Lampard covets Declan Rice above all other signings. Matt Law says that Rice was and always remains Lampard's first choice, with the player's personality and voice rated as a rare talent in the modern game, particularly among the younger generation. While Rice's valuation is eye-watering, Chelsea could help to fund and justify it by signing him as a player who could occupy two positions. Defensive midfield is clearly Rice's main position, but he has also proved he can play in defence and would help to balance Lampard's squad. Lampard has 5 out-and-out centre-backs, which is one too many. With Rice at his disposal, he could streamline his options and also revert to free at the back much more easily. I think that vocal presence is a big thing for Declan Rice, and I think a big thing that this squad definitely lacks. I think it's been improved by the addition of Thiago Silva, just speaking about his leadership skills, but he's not going to be a long-term solution to Chelsea's defensive issues and leadership issues. You know, Max, we're having him 2 seasons. He's doing wonderfully at the moment, but Chelsea have to look beyond that, and Declan Rice is a natural name, and I think that's a big thing for Chelsea, you know, being quite a quiet team, it appears, on the pitch and not having that vocal presence. I think sometimes we over-egg leadership and mentality in someone screaming, but it clearly is something that Chelsea have lacked maybe in difficult moments, and it's quite clear Lampard values that very highly in Declan Rice and something he wants to add a lot more to his team moving forward. I have got a little bit frustrated the amount of focus on Declan Rice in recent times from Chelsea fans, almost as if he's a loan player. We've loaned him out to West Ham. You know, he's not a Chelsea player at the moment, and I think, you know, I think it undercuts some of the brilliant work some of our midfielders have currently done this year. You know, the brilliant work of N'Golo Kante, Mason Mount excelling. I just sometimes wonder, especially following West Ham the other night, Chelsea fans instantly looking at Declan Rice rather than looking at our own players. I was a little bit frustrated by that. And also, I look towards Billy Gilmour. I look towards Ethan Ampadu, especially Gilmour currently in the first team, as maybe that long-term option in DM. And I hope Chelsea don't just prioritise Declan Rice, and then maybe that could hurt Billy Gilmour in the future. I've spoken about this on the channel before, but I don't think it's going to happen in January. And this very much ties into the potential big targets next summer. One of those is Declan Rice, and Sky Sports journalist Angelo Magenta definitely heated up things on social media yesterday for some Chelsea fans regarding Erling Haaland being a big target and a big goal for Chelsea next summer. As you can see from his tweet here, he also talks about the potential outgoings at Chelsea to raise funds: Rudiger, Christensen, Jorginho, Marcus Alonso, Ross Barkley, Danny Drinkwater, and Victor Moses, who's currently on loan at Spartak Moscow. I agree with him. All those players I think will be leaving in January or next summer, which could raise a lot of money. Especially I look at a player like Christensen. On Haaland as well, Fabrizio Romano definitely extinguished this sort of hope, instantly responded to someone who asked him about Haaland to Chelsea, saying, "No mate, Haaland is happy at Dortmund and there's nothing on for him." Haaland is obviously going to be a big target for a number of big clubs next summer. I think Chelsea will be one of them. I'm intrigued that Chelsea, this was I think from Dean Jones a few weeks back, where he spoke about Chelsea's sort of now confidence with the amount of signings we made last summer. They believe they can attract almost any name to Stamford Bridge. I think a lot can change from now till then in terms of our need to get another striker. Olivier Giroud's future, you think this likely will be his final year at Chelsea? You're not entirely sure. Tammy Abraham, if he continues to impress, you know, you'll be looking to back him. Will Timo Werner shift into a more central position by the end of this season as well? I think that's a big question to pose too, given his struggles recently in front of goal. But Haaland is a big name, he really is. He's a coveted name. It's amazing how quickly he's grown in prominence to now become one of the most impressive and coveted strikers in European football. He's going to cost a lot. Whether Chelsea would be able to get him, I don't want to go out there and say Chelsea can't sign this player, because given Kai Havertz, I think that's going to definitely give us more optimism moving forward. You know, Kai Havertz was one of those players I felt just was too big for last summer. But obviously I look stupid at the end because Chelsea made it happen. And I think there is a confidence now and a belief that when Chelsea get a target in their sights, they can make it happen. I do think, though, that next summer, and I think you'll see this moving forward, given the amount of investment we made, I think it's only going to be 1 or 2 additions now. I don't think there's going to be a big summer like that for a few windows now. And you don't think there should be. You know, Chelsea have invested a lot in their squad. You think with the age of certain players in key positions, we've sort of stocked up now for quite a while and we're good to go. So I think it's just about maybe DM, as we say, Declan Rice. In terms of Haaland, I think he will be leaving next summer potentially if his goal record continues. I think one of the big names in European football will sign him. This is the way Dortmund roll. They get young players in, they sign them for a cheap fee, but then get a massive profit for them. I think in terms of where he goes, it's going to be a lot more difficult, I think, for Chelsea. Say with Kai Havertz, for instance, the COVID pandemic definitely changed the complexion of that deal. The fact that Chelsea could get to the front of the queue ahead of the likes of Bayern Munich and Real Madrid. I think by the time we get to, say, May, June, July, I think it's going to be difficult. And I think if Chelsea are flying, I think the desperate need to sign a player like Haaland, despite him being a world-class talent and absolutely an amazing goal scorer, might not be as a desperate need. And I think Chelsea will feel settled with the squad they have under Frank Lampard. Let me know your opinions on Haaland as a dream signing. Do you think it could happen in the future for Chelsea? Also, your opinions on the Declan Rice transfer rumours. Do you think we need him? Do you think there are other players like Billy Gilmore who could fill that role in the future for Chelsea? Let me know in the comments below. But that is it for this edition of Let's Talk Chelsea. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch it. If you did enjoy it, hit that subscribe button and a notification bell so you never miss an upload. Follow me on Twitter at SonOfChelsea, and I'll see you again